The Busan Contents Market and Koba exhibition allows us to look into the latest trends in the media industry and its business prospects. We meet with ETRI director Heung-nam to talk about the success of the institution as it ranks #1 in the world for 2 consecutive years based on a US patent evaluation. We talk about the business effects of the patent achievement. We highlight the latest in a security system that involves the scanning of the human body like the iris and fingerprint. We find out about the world-class technology that has developed a special microscope that allows a person to see a 1 nanometer and 1/1000th of a size big atom. We analyze the North Korean intention for detaining a Korean American for the past 6 months.
Hello, I'm Andrew Salmon and welcome to Bizline. We're coming to you today from Bongin-sa Temple here in southern Seoul, which, as you can see, is festooned with decorations for the upcoming Buddha's birthday celebrations. But we're not here to talk Buddhism, we're here to talk business. So we're going to start the show with a roundup of the latest commercial and economic news that's been making the headlines here in South Korea this week.
The country's finance ministry has decided to allocate over 70% of its extra budget in the first half of this year. The government will be allotting about $3.5 billion out of the $4.9 billion supplementary budget in the period. The parliament passed nearly $16 billion of supplementary government spending for the year 2013. Korea's central bank cut its key interest rate by 0.25 percentage point to 2.5% this month, the first rate cut in 7 months. Following its monthly monetary policy meeting, the Bank of Korea slashed the borrowing cost. The Bank of Korea also cited stable consumer prices and slow economic recovery at home and abroad, especially in emerging markets such as China. The central bank also said there's still a great deal of economic uncertainty due to the weak Japanese yen. Korea's import prices edged up in April from a month earlier, driven by the weakened local currency against the US dollar. Bank of Korea reported that import prices rose by 0.1%, snapping 3 straight months of decline. An increase in import prices is bad news for shoppers in Korea, as it triggers a rise in local consumer prices. Meanwhile, export prices rose for the 3rd straight month in April from the previous month. 5G or 5th generation mobile network will offer a communication speed that is hundreds of times faster than the current 4G system. Samsung Electronics announced that it succeeded in developing a key 5th generation technology which will allow users to download a 2-hour film in 1 second. The new data transfer technique allows users to access information which is hundreds of times faster than the current 4th generation network. China's 4 largest banks have reportedly banned wire transfers to and from North Korea, and recently Bank of China announced it had closed a number of North Korean accounts. The banks are worried their image could be tarnished because of their links with North Korea. Some expect it will affect bilateral trade between China and North Korea, since China is North Korea's largest trade partner.
As you can see here at COEX in southern Seoul, an expo is underway, marketing Korean broadcast equipment and facilities. Meanwhile, in Busan, another expo is underway, marketing largely Korean broadcast content, animation, documentaries, and of course, those syrupy soap operas that Asia loves to watch. How big is the global media market? What are the hot trends in broadcasting equipment? And what kind of Korean content do other countries want to see? Let's take a look.
South Korea's economy is at a critical point as it looks for a new growth engine, with other developing countries catching up in the areas of heavy industry and eventually in the IT sector. 2 major events held recently in the country, Busan Contents Market and Koba, showed potentials Korea have in the media industry, and why South Korea should host more of these international conventions and forums to find a better position to take a leading role in the global media industry. The Bexco exhibition hall in Busan, South Korea was packed with people from broadcasting stations and production companies from all over the world to put through business deals to entertain their audience. The Busan Contents Market event took place for its 7th year since it began in 2007, to host grounds not only for the Korean companies, but also world-renowned entertainment giants.
I've always loved to come back here because I find that BCM is a very conducive event for the media market, also the content market, especially for dramas and animation and also upcoming new media.
They gathered under one roof to discuss deals on many genres, such as drama, documentary, animation, news, and even program format sale, which is a growing market that Korea is taking a keen interest in promoting.
그 세계 시장에서 특정 장르의 콘텐츠뿐만 아니고 포맷 프로그램들도 많이 이제 거래가 이루어지는 걸로 알고 있습니다. MBC의 우린 개론해서라든가 또 SBS의 런닝맨 이런 프로그램들이 많이 팔렸다고 듣고 있고요. 우리 BCM에서도 그런 다양한 새로운 장르의 콘텐츠들이 거래가 많이 이루어질 걸로 기대를 하고 있습니다.
Alongside major TV networks, big production companies are also promoting their program format products after proving their success on local cable channels and hoping to become the next big hit, such as BBC's Dancing with the Stars.
저희가 자체 포맷 개발팀이 따로 있어서 여러 가지를 준비 중이긴 한데 아직 포맷은 스크립티드하고는 다르게 저희가 지금 많이 판매가 되고 있는 예상은 아니고 시작 단계거든요. 올해 말쯤 되면 사실 많은 성과가 있을 것 같아요.
With the added variety of genres of contents traded at BCM, the value of sealed deals is increasing by the year. BCM is estimating that this year's event will gross $30 million, a show of steady growth undeterred by the aftermath of the global financial crisis, and proving to be the fastest growing event of its kind in Asia in such a short period of time. And the growth is highlighted by the popularity of Korean dramas, which continues to expand its pool of audiences even in regions that are not expected to be familiar with Korean culture.
We just made a deal with a Kenyan distributor, and I've known her for a very long time, but it's the first time that they actually buy a Korean drama. And the title I just sold is Moon Embracing the Sun. I'm very excited that we are opening up the market of Africa.
The successful sale in Kenya showed that there is always a market to be pioneered, even with a storyline that is very different and very much Korean.
In terms of the market, it's more of Korean content getting out. Like what we are going to do with what we are buying, when we are able to localize it to our markets, then that will create a bigger liking, a bigger appreciation for the content.
Continued growth and popularity of Korean contents, from dramas, documentaries to entertainment, have raised yet another demand. Buyers are hoping to see more contents produced in English.
I think English is very important for Korean to liberate the world with Korean contents. I was pretty impressed for that effort that Koreans are doing to induce English-speaking culture in Korea.
And the quality of the content should be of the utmost importance to continue to attract global interest. And formation of the marketplace to nurture grounds for exports is crucial. Thus, BCM will need to expand its operation to attract more buyers and sellers and become Asia's MIPCOM, the world's largest entertainment content market in Europe. Of course, the Korean media industry cannot achieve such status without developments in the technological aspect.
I do know that the technology is extraordinary. Very, very impressed with the level and sophistication of the technology and the technological offerings. So I have no doubt that Korean media as a whole is internationally amongst the best.
The 23rd Korea International Broadcast Audio and Lighting Equipment Show, held at COEX in Seoul this week, showcased the development of Korea's technology in the broadcasting industry under the theme Join the Future Wave. It is the largest event of such kind in Korea, which began in 1991 and has grown to become a ground where participants trade broadcasting technologies and set a vision for the future of the media.
33개국, 840여 개 업체가 참여를 하고 있고 4만여 명이 다녀가는 그런 규모의 전시회로 성장을 했고요. 그리고 76개의 강좌의 국제방송 컨퍼런스가 이루어지고 있습니다.
It was a place where Korean companies showed their advancements in the broadcasting technology, such as 4K ultra-high definition resolution.
out of everywhere I go in the world, Korea seems to be very much at the forefront of 4K broadcasting, and so we're pretty happy to see that here.
Into its 23rd year, KOBA also hosted the KOBA World Forum for the first time to address the issue of broadcasting technology and its future vision, not only within Korea but around the globe. These events helped South Korea gain better recognition for its accumulated knowledge in broadcasting and rich media contents. More reason to help grow these conventions and forums.
세계 시장에서 그 한국 미디어가 차지하는 역할과 비중을 그만큼 많이 키워왔습니다. 그래서 좀 더 훌륭한 콘텐츠를 가지고 좀 더 다양하게 장르를 개발해서
앞으로 코바 월드 포럼이나 이런 부분들을 지속적으로 성장을 시켜서 대한민국의 방송 기술이 전 세계를 선도할 수 있는 그런 장으로 만들고자 합니다.
The economic growth engine in global industry is shifting from the heavy industry to the soft industry, and Korea is no exception. To accommodate to the grand change, the country should take these opportunities to stay ahead and take a leading position in the media industry.
In today's global economy, it is no longer enough simply to have manufacturing excellence or economy of scale. You need intellectual property. Now, according to research by the magazine IP Today, itself based on research by the US Patent Board, among 237 international research institutes worldwide, Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute took the #1 position in number of patents and technology excellence for 2 years, 2011 and 2012. This suggests that South Korea is indeed sharpening its competitive edge in patent registration and indeed achievements in technology overall. Now, the man in the hot seat today is the director of ETRI, Dr. Heung-nam. Thank you very much for being here. Welcome to Bizline.
Yeah, thank you for inviting your interview.
That's a pleasure. Let's get started. We know about ETRI, but I think many of our viewers may not be familiar with it. Can you just briefly introduce your institute to us?
Yeah, ETRI was established 37 years ago in 1976, and we developed many famous technologies such as TDX, switching equipment in telephone system, and DRAM, it's kind of semiconductor memory, and the CDMA, code division multiple access, which is the first commercialized technology in the world under the collaboration with Qualcomm company in the United States. Like that, we developed many important things in IT industry. Currently, 1,900 researchers, and among them, about 40% researchers are PhD holders.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Congratulations on your ranking for 2 consecutive years. You're #1 according to IP Today magazine. What does it mean to be ranked this highly, and how does your institute benefit from that evaluation?
Based on that result, we can compare our technology strengths with other some competitive institutes such as Fraunhofer in Germany and ETRI in Taiwan, and even MIT in the United States. This year, MIT was ranked second. So we are very proud of that result. We can beat MIT in strength in patent.
Okay. I understand you hold, correct me if I'm wrong, about 18,000 domestic patents and about 4,800 international patents. Can you perhaps introduce us to a product that our viewers might be familiar with? You mentioned a couple earlier on.
Our very typical patent is LTE. LTE means...
What is LTE?
Yeah, LTE stands for long-term evolution. So it's considered like a 4th generation mobile telecommunication technology.
What actually is it? It's a chipset?
It can be implemented as chipset, and in the chipset only besides the hardware, and we also need to develop some software technology inside of chipset.
LTE, as we just mentioned, is a very, very promising technology. It's being used all over the world and has great future potential. How much money could you put a dollar value on that particular patent?
Regarding LTE, we are consulted by some company to evaluate that LTE patent, and that consulting company says it might be $770 million.
$700 million?
Right.
Close to $1 billion.
Right.
Over the years. Okay, well, congratulations on that. You can buy me a drink afterwards. Okay. Let's move on. There's a lot of criticism in Korea that industry and academic or other research institutes don't really gel very well. How much cooperation is there between ETRI and Korean companies or international companies? Are you satisfied with the level of cooperation?
For research, we distinguish the research into three parts: basic research, and application research, and commercialization research. So most university is focusing on basic research, and the institute like us is focusing on the application research. And finally, the industry is focusing on commercialized research. So from the basic research to commercialized research, there is a very big belly, deep belly, which is called Death Valley.
Death Valley.
Right.
Not Silicon Valley, Death Valley.
Death Valley. To cross over the deep Death Valley safely, we need some application research institute like us.
Which is you.
For the very large scale company such as Samsung and LG, they have their own research facilities. However, small and medium-sized enterprise doesn't have the research facility like that. So our mission is to help their research activity. So to help their research activity, first of all, we are trying to involve our research activity, and after making some result, we need to transfer those technology to the small and medium enterprise to be commercialized finally. So to do that, instead of just transferring those technology to the small and medium enterprise, we are trying to dispatch our engineers to the small and medium companies field. And our engineer will spend 2 or 3 months in small and medium enterprise field to develop commercialized technology under the collaboration with the engineers of small and medium enterprise.
Got you. Dr. Kim, currently, how many SMEs are you working with?
About the number of SME companies is 300 or 400 companies involved every year.
Every year, okay. Park Geun-hye's government slogan includes these terms like creative economy and convergence economy. And you mentioned earlier on that at ETRI right now, there is a lot of emphasis on convergence research, technological convergence research, putting it all together. What is convergence research, and what kind of areas are you converging at present?
Our institute is focusing on developing some various convergence technologies, such as convergence between IT and shipbuilding, and convergence between IT and automobile industry, and even convergence technology between IT and medical industry, something like that. Let me explain the first example of convergence.
Yeah, of course, because shipbuilding is a major area of the Korean economy. How do you converge IT with this very traditional metal bashing industry?
Yeah. When I was in charge of embedded software research division in about 2007, 6 years ago, I first tried to converge our IT technology with shipbuilding technology. My research team visited Hyundai, heavy industry company in Ulsan.
It's the world's largest shipbuilder.
Right, right. And we experienced the tour of shipbuilding yard, and we took a ride the constructing ship, which is LNG.
An LNG carrier, a
LNG
super
carrier.
tanker.
Right, right. In LNG ship, there is hundreds of coaxial cable, copper cables, which runs through the ship, center of a ship. And I have the question, why that 100 copper coaxial cable runs the
length of the hull? Okay,
right.
Yeah.
So the engineer told me, in LNG, about 3,000 sensors was installed to detect pressure, temperature, and the leakage of gas, something like that. So those signals captured from the sensors transferred to the headquarter bridge through coaxial cables.
Gotcha.
So I had a question: why aren't you using the wireless technology? The engineers told me, answered, they tried to use wireless technology. However, the ship was constructed by steel. So steel prevent the propagation of electronic waves. So they failed to use wireless technology to remove the 100 of coaxial cables. So I answered, I proposed, oh, that's very good situations. Let's start to remove those wired coaxial cables by using new wireless technology to prevent propagation of steel. Right. So that technology is called the SAN, Ship Area Network.
So this now exists?
Now it exists, and it's a standard technology.
Oh, okay.
And
well, congratulations on that.
Right, all right. And it was already implemented in the over 100 ships and exported to the abroad.
Okay.
And we reduced the total length of 80 kilometers of copper wires into only 1/10, 8 kilometers.
Okay. Well, those are all very, very promising and exciting achievements and advances. What are your future plans?
Our future plan is to develop Giga Korea. The IT industry consists of 4 layers. The lowest layer is network infra, and above network infra, some hardware devices will be connected to network infra.
Okay, this is our computers, our telephones, and so forth.
Right, that's the second layer. And the third layer is a software platform layer, and those layer is installed over hardware devices. And finally, the fourth layer is contents and service layer. Right. So contents, software platform, hardware devices, and the network infra. We call it CPDN layers. So in 10 years, we hope the network infra will be developed 10 times faster than current speed. For example, LTE and LTE Advanced will provide 100 mega BPS, bit per second data transferring speed. And we are trying to develop new 5th generation mobile technology, which is faster 10 times than LTE and or LTE advanced technology. That means we are focusing 1 gigabit per second data transferring speed. So the first layer will be gigabit per second network infra. Among this network infra, the device will be giga level, and also software platform will be giga level, and finally the contents will be giga level. And also we are integrated all CPDN technologies into one test bed, so Giga Korea test bed. And this Giga Korea test bed will be demonstrating very fantastic technologies during 2018 Winter Olympic Games.
Okay.
Yeah, so many visitors coming from foreign countries, and they are still living in mega ages in their countries. However, they will be experiencing first times in Koreans Giga Korea test bed. That will be the nice opportunity to help implementation of our country's creative economy.
That's a pretty exciting vision.
Right.
Thank you very much for being with us. Good luck with you and all your researchers down at ETRI, and we look forward to exciting things coming out in the near future. Thank you very much for being with us on Bizline. It's been a pleasure. You've probably seen it in a Bond film or a Bourne film, an ultra high-tech security system which scans the iris or the fingerprints of our hero or our villain as they infiltrate a top secret facility. In fact, biometric security technology is not fiction, it really exists. Moreover, a South Korean biometric security company has been named by MIT as one of the top 10 firms that will lead the 21st century. What is this technology and what exactly can it do? Strap on your shoulder holsters as we enter the world of super security.
Biometric systems operate everywhere in the movie. Individuals are identified through iris and retina recognition systems, while the main character of the movie scans the veins on the back of his hand to enter government buildings. Protecting personal information is ever so important amid growing use of smart devices, and the biometric technologies in the real world aim to foolproof security. How effectively can security systems available these days prevent identification thefts or hacking attacks to steal personal information, such as residential identification numbers, certification verification numbers, and various passwords? Unlike passwords, there are no worries of forgetting or leakage with biometric security systems that use characteristics or traits of a human body, such as iris, fingerprint, or vessels.
생체 정보 자체를 가지고 우리가 확인을 하는 과정은 온라인으로 처리되기 때문에 지금 제가 예를 들어서 지문을 찍는다면은 지금 찍은 지문과 등록된 지문을 1:1로 매칭을 하기 때문에 순간적으로 이루어져서 해킹에 대해서는 훨씬 더 안전하고 진일보된 기술이라고 말씀드릴 수가 있겠습니다.
By far, the fingerprint scanning technology has been studied the longest among biometric technologies. Fingerprints have been used to identify individuals for a century and have become a common biometric security technology to apply to access to large buildings and home door locks. Its related security technologies have more advanced recently with the development of recognition technologies.
지문의 영상을 촬영해서 그 각각의 모양새가 틀린 것을 좌표값으로 저장합니다. 그리고 인증 과정을 할 때 다시 영상을 촬영해서 특징점들을 좌표로 추출을 하고요. 그 두 개의 데이터가 일치하는지를 가지고 인증을 하도록 되어 있습니다.
It takes a maximum of a tenth of a second to identify a person through the comparison of fingerprint patterns after he or she enrolls the fingerprint. But is it possible to break in with a duplicated fingerprint as often seen in spy movies?
이거는 실리콘으로 본을 뜬 위조 지문입니다. 지문하고 모양새는 거의 유사하지만 실제로 사람의 손에 흐르는 미세 전류가 흐르지 않기 때문에 지문 인식기가 반응을 하지 않습니다. 위조 지문과 사람의 지문은 각각 빛에 대한 굴절률이 다르도록 되어 있습니다. 그래서 그 굴절률을 구분을 하고요. 그 다음에 소프트웨어 알고리즘을 이용해서 위조 지문과 사람의 지문을 구별하는 위조 지문 방지 기술을 구현하고 있습니다.
Fingerprint security solutions currently available boast highly of advanced technologies that can identify forged fingerprints. Still, they are not perfect because it is sometimes impossible to verify identification with fingerprints sponged up after a shower. To supplement the fingerprint scanning technology, iris recognition technology is used to achieve a tighter security system. The iris is a thin circular layer in the eye controlling the amount of light reaching the eye, and it determines the eye color. Compared to fingerprint scanning, iris recognition achieves nearly zero false match rates, with more unique and complex patterns and colors of the iris.
아이디 패스워드에서 패스워드가 보통 7자리에서 8자리로 혼합하면서 사용을 많이 하죠. 그 알파벳과 숫자를 110자리로 늘린 그런 그 확률과 저희 홍채 데이터 하나의 확률이 동일합니다. 그렇기 때문에 거의 해독이 불가능한 수준이라고 할 수 있죠.
This is one of the iris recognition solution developers in South Korea. Unlike conventional iris recognition technologies with cumbersome algorithms limiting applications of the technologies, the iris recognition solution developed by this company identifies and matches data by focusing on the pupil of the eye. The company continues to search for ways to install this technology in mobile devices.
홍채 인식 기술이 스마트폰에 탑재가 된다면 그 스마트폰으로 여러 가전기구나 내가 활용할 수 있는 모든 생활의 컨트롤이 가능해진다는 겁니다. 뭐 자동차 키 대신에 홍채로 스마트폰에 홍채 코드를 넣어서 인증이 되면 예를 들어 자동차가 시동이 걸린다든지.
홍채 인식 기술은 정교하게 찍어야 된다는 문제점이 있기 때문에 널리 보급되고 있지는 못하고 있는 상황입니다. 그러나 요즘 들어와서는 미국의 니스트 연구소를 비롯한 많은 곳에서 근접한 거리, 그러니까 한 4-5m 이내에서 홍채를 식별해낼 수 있는 그런 기술이 개발되고 있기 때문에 향후에는 아주 중요한 생체 인식 기술로 등장하여 사용할 예정으로 있습니다.
Biometric security technology uses a wide range of human body organs, other than fingerprints and irises. A vein matching security solution has already been put into use. As well, palm print recognition technologies have been developed, waiting for commercial use soon. The latest technological development has enabled the facial recognition technology to identify individuals regardless of wearing glasses or angles of face shots. Besides this technology, voice, ear shape, and body odor recognition technologies are in development.
지금 현재 유럽에서는 유럽 시민증이라는 것을 만들고 있습니다. 우리나라 주민등록증 비슷한 곳에다가 생체 정보를 넣은 결과입니다. 이것은 이제 국경을 통과할 때 가짜라든지 위조를 변조하거나 잘못된 것을 걸러내는 기술이 발달되어 있고요. 그래서 안전한 이동이 보장이 되기 때문에 하는 것인데, 미래에는 우리가 이러한 신분증 없이도 본인이 어딘가에 등록이 돼 있으면 이것을 이용해서 전 세계를 여행할 수 있는 무신분증의 시대가 올 것이라고 생각을 하고 있습니다.
Using a biometric system, this new biometric technology is one that will protect us from a series of crimes and hacking attempts. The biometric technology's complete security systems could lead us to live in a more comfortable world.
As every schoolboy or schoolgirl knows, all around us at all times is a plethora of tiny material that cannot be viewed with the naked eye, but can only be viewed through the lens of a microscope. What if you want to see the really, really tiny material, the infinitesimally small material that is, say, 1 nanometer or a billionth of a meter in size? For that, you'll need a very special microscope indeed. In this week's Hidden Champions segment, we're going to meet the company which produces an atomic force microscope, which ranks second in global market share. Let's meet this company and take a very, very close look.
Computer maker IBM has created the world's smallest movie that has made it to the Guinness Book of World Records. The technology involved thousands of atoms, which form some 250 stop-motion frames for the animation movie. An atom is a basic unit matter which cannot be seen with the naked eye. The latest technology has made it possible to see these atoms. A small Korean company has led the technology for such an innovation. People have gathered to learn about the functions of a unique piece of equipment. The makers of the atomic force microscope, or AFM, is Park Systems. The company offers users regular lectures about the main functions of the microscope, which allows the observation of atoms.
저희 실험실에서 쓰고 있기 때문에 현재 거기서 이제 들어온 지가 제가 얼마 안 돼서 사용법을 더 숙지하려고 왔는데 원자 현미경 자체가 이제 원자하고 원자 사이에서 일어나는 그러니까 표면적으로 볼 수 있는 거라서 저희가 볼 수 없는 거를 볼 수 있기 때문에 좋은 장비이고.
저는 학교 안에 분석센터에서 일을 하는데 제가 맡은 장비 중에 하나가 이거예요. 그래서 학생들이나 외부에서 샘플 의뢰하면 찍어주는 그런 일 하거든요. 잘못된 샘플 아까 예를 많이 보여줬는데 저도 그렇게 찍어서 줬던 적이 많거든요. 그래서 앞으로는 그런 거에서 실수를 좀 줄이는 데 도움이 되지 않을까.
Park Systems holds world-class technology for atomic force microscope and leads the measuring industry for nanotechnology. The third-generation atomic force microscope reveals the smallest unit of some 1/1000th of a meter big in nanometer size. As seen in the picture, if the apple is 1/1000th of the size of the Earth, the microscope shows 1/1000th of the apple size unit.
시료 표면의 그 높이라든가 아니면은 폭, 또 단차, 그리고 각도 등을 기본적으로 측정을 할 수 있고요. 그 외적으로 어떤 전기적인 성질 부분, 그러니까 전기 저항성 같은 경우도 측정을 할 수 있고, 또한 자기적인 특성 또는 온도 특성 부분도 그 탐침을 이용해서 아주 작은 부위에 대해서 측정을 할 수 있습니다. 통상적인 대기 환경 또는 수중에서도 사용할 수 있기 때문에 재료공학의 기본적인 분야 또는 이제 반도체에서의 그 초기 공정에서의 연구, 그리고 그 결함 분석 같은 게 사용될 수가 있고요. 또한 최근 같은 경우는 바이오 분야에서 세포 측정 같은 경우에도 사용이 되고 있습니다.
The AFM allows us to look into chromosomes and insect eyes and into atoms, all of which are impossible to see with the naked eye.
인류 과학이 알지 못하고 있는, 파헤치지 못하고 있는 거대한 산맥이 있습니다. 그게 바로 나노 바이오의 세계라고 봅니다. 어떻게 해서 수정란 하나가 발화하고 세포 분열을 해가지고 쥐도 되고 소도 되고 사람도 되고, 또 작은 씨앗 하나가 발화해서 풀도 되고 나무가 되고, 이거를 파헤칠 수 있는 게 나노 바이오라고 봅니다.
The probe inside the atomic force microscope does not make contact with the sample, but minutely senses the surface of the atom. The atomic force microscope has precise measurement to the nanoscale and also has outstanding dismantling capability. The small probe attached inside the atomic force microscope keeps a certain distance with the atom, and by measuring the repulsive power, creates the atom image. At one university research lab, Professor Lee Hae-sung at the Department of Nano New Materials Engineering has been using the atomic force microscope for the past 20 years. The department has reaped the benefits of Park Systems AFM since the equipment was introduced to its research back in 2007.
지금 현재 제가 진행을 하고 있는 이와 같은 새로운 형태의 그 전자 소재를 만들어내고 그것들의 구조를 관찰하고 동시에 특성을 측정을 하는 데 있어서 팍 시스템스의 AFM 장비는 제게 굉장히 많은 도움을 주고 있습니다.
Park Systems' atomic force microscope is well known worldwide, holding numerous patent licenses and awards at home and abroad. World-renowned universities like Harvard, Columbia, Stanford, and world-leading companies and institutions like Seagate, Hitachi, TDK, and NASA have all acknowledged the product.
이 기초과학의 이 원자 현미경이 차지하는 분야는 이 나노 과학을 지금 현재 이끌어 온다고 말을 할 수가 있습니다. 그렇기 때문에 굉장히 중요한 부분이고, 지난 25년 동안 원자 현미경이 여러 가지 분야에 있어서 많은 공헌을 했습니다.
저희가 개발하는 원자 현미경의 성능이 더 좋아져서 여태까지는 몰랐던 세계를 알게 해주고 못 봤던 세계를 보여해주고요. 그러한 나노 기술을 발전해가지고 우리가 필요로 하는 여러 가지 여태까지 못했던 그런 놀라운 일들을 할 수 있기를 기대합니다.
Nanotechnology is on the way for rapid expansion into various fields, such as basic science, application research, industry, and the medical field. The future looks bright for key areas in nano measurement sector, represented by the research equipment, atomic force microscope. Korea's national status is expected to improve as it leads the world's nanotechnology.
Here at Boinsa Temple are enshrined the souls of thousands of South Korean secret agents who lost their lives on secret missions inside North Korea. And in North Korea right now, another man is facing possible death. His name is Kenneth Bae. He's an American. He was recently sentenced to 15 years hard labor in the North Korean gulag. And thus far, all efforts to free him have been rebuffed. And some experts believe that if he does serve his sentence, it's tantamount to a death sentence. Bae is the sixth American in recent years to be taken and held and sentenced inside North Korea. Why is North Korea doing this? In our North Korean segment, we spoke to Laura Ling, the American reporter who was herself detained inside North Korea in 2009.
In November 2012, a 44-year-old Korean-American tour operator in China disappeared off the face of the earth. Kenneth Bae, also known by his Korean name Bae Jun-ho, was arrested while leading a tour group in North Korea's Special Economic Zone in Rason, bordering China and Russia. 6 months later, he was sentenced to 15 years of hard labor.
북한 주민이 아닌 외국인에게 그와 같이 15년형이라는 중형을 씌우는 것은 대단한 중형입니다. 북한의 그 형벌은요, 우선 그 감옥이라든가 여러 가지 그 조건이 너무나 열악하기 때문에 아마 대한민국의 5년형을 사는 것보다 북한에서 1년 미만의 형을 사는 게 더 어려워요.
Kenneth Bae was accused of plotting to topple the communist regime by spreading anti-Pyongyang propaganda and of smuggling at least 250 supporters under the guise of tourists, among other allegations.
총과 무기를 들여야만이 체제 전복이 아니라 일종의 자기들의 치부를 드러내는, 다시 말해서 꽃집이라든지 어린애들의 이런 그 앵벌이 뭐 이런 것도 다 체제 전복이라고 확대 해석하고 있기 때문에 법의 확대적 차원에서 배준호 씨가 걸려 들은 것이 아닌가 생각됩니다.
North Korea has detained 5 other Americans since 2009. Robert Park, a Korean-American missionary, entered North Korea on Christmas Day in 2009, hoping to raise attention to Pyongyang's human rights abuses. He was deported after a much controversial 43 days in captivity. Before Park's release, his colleague, Aijalon Mali Gomes, also crossed the border in January 2010 and was sentenced to 8 years in labor camp. He was freed 7 months later. And Eddie Yong-Soo-chun, a businessman and a pastor, was taken prisoner in November 2010 and was detained for 6 months. But the very first victims were 2 female American journalists, Laura Ling and Yuna Lee.
We were filming a documentary along the Chinese-North Korean border about the trafficking of North Korean women. So we were on the Tumen River. We were literally standing on the frozen river.
It was when they were returning that they heard North Korean soldiers yelling and chasing after them.
They very violently beat us and started to drag us across the frozen river into North Korea. The one that was dragging me was very brutal, and he struck his gun down on my head and knocked me unconscious, and then dragged us into North Korea.
For the next 5 months, Ling was isolated in a room separated from Lee and was able to step outside only for short walks or for interrogation.
My time in captivity was the most frightening, terrifying time of my life. I didn't know what was going to happen to me, if I would ever see my family again.
3 months into their captivity, the two journalists saw each other for the first time at the trial where they were sentenced to 12 years of hard labor.
My worst fears seemed to be coming true. And then the judge shouted, "No forgiveness, no appeal." So when I heard that there was no appeal, I thought there was no possibility of hope. And it was, I mean, I was just crushed, and it was one of the lowest points of my captivity.
2 months later, they saw each other again, but this time they were given a big surprise. President Bill Clinton stood right before their eyes.
It was pretty unbelievable and surreal when I saw President Clinton. I didn't think that he would make such a journey to such an unpredictable place to rescue us.
On August 5th, 2009, they returned home and were reunited with families.
클린턴이라는 거물이 자기들한테 와서 빌어서 이렇게 사람들을 구원해 데려갔다. 이 자체만도 북한 내부에서는 이제 북한 정권의 위상을 높이는 것으로 이렇게 생각하고 있습니다.
도미 사이의 현안 문제들이 진지한 분위기 속에서 허심탄회하고 깊이 있게 논의되었으며 대화의 방법으로 문제를 풀어나갈 때 대한 견해 일치가 이룩되었다.
From then on, high-profile Americans, such as former President Jimmy Carter and State Department diplomat Robert King, went as envoys to secure the release of the imprisoned US citizens, with exception of Robert Park. In response to Bay's sentencing, the US State Department called on the communist regime to free the Korean American immediately.
You know that welfare of US citizens is a critical and top priority for this department. We call on the DPRK to release Kenneth Bay immediately on humanitarian grounds.
북한도 자기 체면이 있으니까 그 한마디에 그냥 내놓겠습니까? 그렇진 않을 거예요. 그러니까 다각도로 그 북한 채널과 연결을 해서 석방하기 위한 일정한 대책을 미국으로서 강구해야지.
Despite North Korea's recent denial of using Bay as a bargaining chip for negotiations, experts argue Pyongyang is still aiming for concession from Washington.
북한은 미국과 대화를 원하고 있고 또한 이 북한은 이러한 억류인을 활용해 가지고 미국과 대화에서 분위기 조성 그런 차원에서 아마 이런 배준호 씨 건도 나름대로 북미 간 대화의 분위기 조성 차원에서 활용하지 않을까 이렇게 분석을 합니다.
Detaining ordinary people and using them as pawns has become one of the brinkmanship tactics that North Korea has pursued to get what it wants, or at least to draw the international attention. With talks between Washington and Pyongyang ground to a complete halt, what other cards does the communist regime have left to play? At this point, it may be in the North's best interest to release Bay as a show of goodwill, which may work to thaw the current frigid US-North relation.
And that's all we have time for this week. Thank you for joining us as usual. And as usual, we'd love to hear back from you. Please do visit us on Facebook or do join us on the Arirang TV homepage. Let us know what you think and what you'd like to see in future editions of Bizline. But once again, that's all we have time for. Thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Salmon. This was Bizline. Happy Buddha's birthday. Goodbye.